Welcome everybody to another episode of the Career Breakthrough Series. In today's episode, episode 41, I've got an amazing guest called Dustin Mathews on the show. So Dustin is the founder of Speaking Empire. He is also the author of an incredible book, No BS Guide to Powerful Presentations. So Dustin's business, Speaking Empire, works with thought leaders, experts, and celebrities to craft and deliver incredible messages and presentations to an audience. They help you really engage your audience and deliver outstanding presentations. So believe it or not, Dustin came from a place in his career where he did everything he ever could to avoid speaking in public or avoid giving presentations. Until one day, that reality hit home and Dustin's boss wasn't able to make a presentation to their employees, and Dustin had to step up as a result. With his back to the corner, he knew that he had to deliver even though fear was really starting to overwhelm him and everything really started to hit home. But after the presentation, Dustin got amazing feedback from his fellow employees, which really helped boost his confidence and realized that fear is something that needs to be embraced and is never as bad as it really seems. So let's get into the interview where Dustin shares some incredible advice and incredible insight into really how to craft an amazing message that entertains your audience and also how to overcome your fear of public speaking. So let's get started. Welcome to another episode of the Career Breakthrough Series. I'm your host, Paul Ames. And like many of us, public speaking is such a fear that many of us really struggle to overcome. I know myself, it's been such a massive issue that I really need to embrace and learn how to overcome. My guest today has gone through exactly the same thing where, he's really found himself fearful and really scared of trying to get into public speaking. But since then, he's found an amazing loophole to be able to do that. And as a result, it's generated an incredible business and formed an incredible business called Public Speaking Empire, and where he's coached celebrities, authors, and thought leaders on how to be amazing public speakers that really engage their audience. So Dustin, thank you so much for agreeing to be on the show. It's an absolute pleasure to be able to talk to you. If you could give my audience a bit of a background into, what initially started this concept with your business and what were some of your biggest influences on your career growing up?
Yeah, absolutely, Paul. Well, I'm fired up. Thank you for having me. I'm actually at an event. I'm in the hotel room here. We're going to be speaking here this weekend, so I'm excited, and so catching me live in action here. So it used to not always be this way. So the backstory, if you will, was I didn't want to do this, like even be on a Zoom or a podcast or in the spotlight, essentially. And so I remember when I was at university. I actually found a loophole to get out of having to take public speaking as a class. And so I actually think, Paul, I did more work to get out of that class than if I had just taken the class itself. And, I think that's funny because in life, here we are, we sometimes run from things earlier in life, or sometimes opportunity knocks and, we're not ready, as a person, we're not ready yet to accept that call or that challenge at that point in life. And so I think it presents itself many times. And so fast forward a few years, I was presented with an opportunity to fill in for my boss, essentially, in a startup company. And he said, listen, if you want to continue to have a job and work here, you're going to have to do it. And so my back was against the wall, and I did it. And it wasn't as bad as I thought it was. And my big story I was telling myself is no one was going to take me serious, Paul, because imagine me 10 years ago. If I have a baby face, if you see it a little bit, I must have looked like 12. So I said no one would take me seriously, but they did. Yeah. And that's the thing is I realized if you've got specialized knowledge and you're in front of the right audience, they don't care what color you are. They want the solution. If they have a big pain and you've got a solution to that and you can make their life better, then they want to hear about it. And so the rest is history. And I started a whole company showing people about, get out, get in the spotlight, share that message, inspire others. And yes, you can be handsomely rewarded for doing so.
Yeah. Wow. Thanks so much for sharing that, Dustin. That's awesome. Sure. I love that. And it's funny what you can do when your back's pressed against the wall. And I can relate to a lot of it as well. I was quite an introverted person growing up, or so I thought I was. And then I think that was because a lot of us don't really have this direction, or, for me, high school was my biggest pain point. I just drifted through high school and really struggled with it. I can really relate to you, having to break out of your shell and having to embrace this. So yeah, thanks for sharing, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The reason why I share, the reason why I'm so passionate about it, because of the explosiveness, so getting out in front of others, whether you, speak on a podcast, whether you, are speaking on a stage or on a webinar, it can dramatically change your business. And no matter if you're speaking in corporate, in a boardroom, or you're trying to grow your business, now more than ever, today, we are forced. We have so much technology in front of us, Snapchat, Zoom, podcasts. And so now more than ever, business owners have to be in the spotlight, are forced to. And so do you have a message that's going to compel people to take action? And that's what it's about.
That's awesome, man. I'm going to be a bit selfish with this question because it's going to be to help myself get over my fear of getting and doing a keynote presentation as well. But for example, say I know a lot of people could relate to this in the audience as well. But say if a lot of us have these fears and anxieties, like you just said, where you think that your message isn't going to be well heard, you're going to flunk out, you're going to freeze up on stage. What would be some tips and advice that you would offer that helped you overcome these things personally?
Well, I got a couple things. Some are very tactical and some is about mindset. And so I remember reading this Rolling Stone interview, and they were interviewing two famous musicians, well-known musicians, and they asked the gentleman, the first one, they said, "Hey, do you still get nervous? Do you still get anxiety before you go out there and do a performance?" And he said it in this way that always sat with me. And he said it this way. He said, "Yes, if you mean that energy that courses through my body that lets me know that I'm alive before I go out there and I rock it, then absolutely that's what I feel." And I said, that's interesting how he describes it. Well, then they went over and they asked the other person, and she described it as, "I literally have to be pulled out of my dressing room before I go on stage." And she was amazing. Like, she's an amazing performer. Yeah. And it's funny because it's how we frame it. And so obviously, if you feel nervous, if you tell yourself you're nervous, you're going to be nervous. It doesn't help the cause. And so number one is that. Number two, where I think a lot of people do, and I get it because either you're a business owner or maybe you're in corporate and you're grinding, whether you're running your business or you're trying to run the department or you're trying to do other things. And so a lot of people stay up the night before. And what happens is when you're up the night before and you're hunched over at your computer trying to do the slides, you feel that stress right there in the back, right there. And so you're putting this stress on you. And so I see a lot of folks, because they're busy, they don't get their presentation and be thinking about it. And they're trying to cram it all into one night, which doesn't allow you to practice. And so just like an athlete or just like an opera singer or, your favorite band, whatever one resonates with you, they practice before they go out on the stage or before they do that delivery. And it makes it a lot easier. And I think that's the big thing is people are afraid of, if I'm going to look stupid or am I going to forget something? And so when you practice it, it's already there in your subconscious and it's like muscle memory. And so the big thing I can say is self-talk and how you do it. And then just get out there and practice. And Paul, I got to tell you, I love podcasts. And so for my business owners out there, I love podcasts. And the reason why, it gives you an opportunity to practice your material. Now, you're not going to get to do your whole talk, but you can do little mini segments and little chunks. And so when you do it live on a stage or on a Facebook Live or a Zoom, it's not like you're doing it for the first time. You've already delivered it. So practice, practice, practice.
That's awesome, man. I'm definitely going to implement some of those strategies. I think that's brilliant. Just touching on the people in the corporate field, there are a lot of people listening who, potentially want to nail better meetings or, engage more of their audience or engage more of their listeners in their meetings or presentations. So what do you think would be some great advice that you've learned that helps to keep people engaged? I know a lot of people's train of thought or their memory or just engaging with topics is such a struggle with so much going on in the world nowadays. So what would be the best advice that you've helped implement?
Well, a couple things. I want to take us to society. I want us to take a look at, presidents. I want us to take a look at people that get paid the most in society, but also are the most influential. So if you think about it, the president here in the United States, the Queen of England, your favorite rock band again, celebrities, all of these people are properly introduced. And they're often introduced by someone that is known. So whether it's a friendly MC, whether it's the department, whether it's another celebrity. And so the big thing I can share with people is you should always be properly introduced. So if you want engagement, part of it is the message that you do deliver, but it's also part of the show, the performance. And so if you're going to be a person of authority, if you're going to get the crowd to buy into you, even before you open your mouth, you should be properly introduced. And if you can do it, especially in corporate, from somebody that's in the inner circle, somebody that's an advocate, somebody that's a mentor, or somebody that the whole group knows, they pass the power to you when they introduce you. So always introduce. Number 2 is a video. So you want to make people laugh. You want to make them have fun. And so I know you may have some very technical, I work with folks that have technical content, data, statistics, that sort of thing. But if you can parlay it into a video lightens the mood. It's different media. So they're not just looking at a PowerPoint slide, or they're not just looking at your talking head. They're watching a video of maybe a clip from their favorite movie. And so the key is, how do you bridge it? How do you relate it to that clip? And then the third thing is ask questions throughout, especially in corporate where it's a smaller meeting, is ask people and engage them, because we know people are on their phones and they're checked out. And so engage them, ask them questions, ask them to do activities, on the slides or make notes, have them engage with you and make it a natural conversation.
Wow, man, that's blown me away, that advice. I think that's incredible. And I can visualize myself doing those sort of things, or, in previous careers, and going, oh, wow, that would have made us such a better presentation if I had done that. Or, you watch other people doing these style presentations and you're like, wow, that would have just really brightened the whole mood and brightened the whole environment up.
Absolutely.
Wow, man, that's great. So, Dustin, I've got a bit of another random question I like to ask as well. So we've all got a really positive trait or positive habit that's really helped us achieve the success we have in our life. We've also got a really hindering habit. What do you feel would be your most positive habit that's helped you achieve success? And what would be your most hindering on the flip side?
Oh, these are good. Most positive habit is coming with the student's mindset. And so no matter what level of success, I'm here with a friend, and he reminded me of some things today. And he always comes with a student mindset. He calls it something a little bit different. He calls it, just not playing dumb, but being the dumb guy, not trying to be the smart guy, and not trying to use big words and trying to impress people. And so how to relate that is come with a mindset, like in every situation in life, you can learn something. And so you may find yourself in an unfavorable situation, or maybe you're around junior people that you're like, man, what am I really supposed to learn here? But coming with that mindset of what am I supposed to take away? You can learn what not to do, or, maybe not to put yourself in that environment again. There's lessons that way. So I always look to say, what can I learn? What did I learn from this event? What did I learn from reading this book? What did I learn from doing it? And so when you come with that mindset, you can absorb more, versus if you come with the ego and you say, well, I'm too big for this room, or I already know that, or, this is piddly stuff. And so come with that mindset. I think the thing that holds me back for sure, so the negative one, if you want to call it that, is, I think this comes from childhood for sure, being an only child, and being moved around the country a lot. My dad was in the military. And so for me, I like people to like me. I like to make friends. I want people to be inspired. And so thinking about what people think is something that I continually work on. And so there are situations where I don't care for sure, but giving too much weight to what other people think, or how will this be perceived. And, if you want to get what you want in life, you have to be willing to be in uncomfortable situations. And I'll tell you, I don't really like to be in uncomfortable situations, but I understand to grow as a person that it's outside the comfort zone that we grow. And so most recently, I have put myself in a very uncomfortable situation, but I know on the backside of that, I'm going to grow big time.
Wow, man. Yeah, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Dustin. I feel like that's, something that I always rabbit on about in most of my interviews. That topic comes up, and that's something that I've seen, because it's been such a powerful thing with a lot of clients I've worked with as well, where the influence and opinion of others, like people take too much weight on board with that. Like I always think, just have a listen to it. You can implement it in your life if you want, but go with what is important to you. Don't go with what's important to other people or what they think of you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely, man. And that's great advice. Guys, go back and definitely have a listen to what Dustin just shared. That's some incredible gold there. So Dustin, I'm going to throw another big question. Yeah, this is.
Do it. I love it. Yeah. I love it.
So this comes from, obviously, with my career counseling background. It's a style of therapy called solution-focused therapy. So imagine if you went to sleep tonight and an overnight miracle had occurred. When you woke up the next morning, everything you ever wanted to impact in the world had come true, or anyone you ever wanted to impact in the world had come true. There were no financial roadblocks, no mental roadblocks holding you back. What would be that biggest impact you'd want to make on the world, and why would it be so important to you?
Oh, kids, for sure. Like, I want to play a big game and I want to inspire others for sure. And I get to do that with what I'm doing now. And I'm very fortunate and blessed to do that. And I keep in mind, I'm a young father. I have a 3-year-old Dexter and a 4-month-old Forrest. And so,
awesome.
it's very easy for me to say, I want to go change the world with my business. And I want to change other people's lives. And I also have to keep in mind, I have a family to feed and provide for, and I have, 2 young boys that need morals and values and education and guidance there. And so, I keep that in mind because, as a business owner, entrepreneur, it's really easy to get caught up in the impact that I'm going to make, and I'm going to make that. But I also too know at the end of the day, it's the boys. And so the impact would be that I've instilled in them good values. I've made them positive members of society that contribute, and hopefully they want to impact the world in some way. I think we all do. And that would be my biggest contribution and greatest is to make sure that they're raised with good morals and a good sense and contributing members of society.
Oh, I love that. And I can completely relate. I've got a 4-year-old girl and a 2-year-old boy as well. And
yeah,
yeah, definitely. And it's funny how things change when you become a parent and you start focusing more on that environment and, what your kids' upbringing is going to be like, you're trying to be a positive role model for them. I think that's really powerful.
Amen. Yes.
So, Dustin, I know we've shared some incredible advice about, helping people with their presentations or public speaking, but what do you think is the best career advice that you think you've ever received, or the best advice that's really helped you progress along this path or give you that reinforcement in what you do?
Education. That's the first thing that comes to mind. I usually just say that the first thing that comes to mind versus overthinking it. And so, again, coming with a student's mindset of what am I going to learn. But I think, even if you're in corporate or a career or business owner, entrepreneur, just because you graduated from university or school, or maybe you didn't, I have a lot of friends that never graduated from anything, but are consummate readers, meaning they're constantly digesting information, whether, now it's digital. I'm still old school and I love to get my print newsletters and magazines. So I consume a lot of information. So input equals output is what I find. And so your ideas, your brain, you got to feed your brain. And so I think always growing has contributed, always reading something or working on something or even watching videos is fine as long as they're educational. And so here's what I say. The one thing that no one can take away from you, can file bankruptcy, the government can come take everything away from you. The one thing they can't take away are your experiences. I should say 2 things. The experiences that you've lived and learned from, but also to the knowledge. So if you've read the books and you remember and commit yourself to acting on some of those ideas presented and whatever you come across, you always have that for life. They can't take that away from you. And so that has helped and served me in so many different fields. When I was in corporate working for somebody else, and now in my own field, I do the same things. I do the same reading and education and commitment there that I do here.
Wow. Yeah. No, I think that's great advice. I think, continually learning. And I was reading, I take that back. I was watching a video on YouTube the other day about a guy who hadn't graduated from high school. I think he had a year 3 knowledge or something like that. And he read books every day. He taught himself to read and, went through all this and ended up inspiring his kids and inspiring his family to do the same. And as a result, here's this guy who was a dropout or, wasn't successful, but he inspired his kids to move on and do these other incredible things. So, I think that's awesome. So powerful. Yeah, that's great. But Dustin, I'd love to know what are you most excited about in your business, or what's really got you lit up inside with what you're progressing for in the future?
Wow, what's got me? I mean, endless possibility right now is the right answer. And to not sound so promotional, I'm really excited that I have launched a book with one of my mentors. And so here's what I want to communicate. I'll say it this way. Look for the opportunities. A lot of people in life may not think that later on down the road that you may partner with somebody. So one of my greatest mentors that got me into the business world, really, over 10 years ago, I read one of his books. And so now I recently co-wrote a book with him, and I'm actually here at the conference here, called the No BS Guide to Powerful Presentations. And so my mentor, Dan Kennedy, who has helped me make lots of money and make big impact in this world. I've recently written a book with him. And so I'm really excited about that because, here was a gentleman who put a book out years ago that has changed not only my life, but many of lives. And so now to be able to contribute to that and pay it forward, I'm always excited by that. And so that's the biggest project right now that comes to mind that I'm working on. And there are a lot. But that's what I'm excited and thrilled about.
Wow, man. I have to say, I'm so proud of you. That's incredible that you're actually getting to work with your mentor on a project as well, and somebody who's
Yeah.
made such an impact in your life. That must be so rewarding. And I guess a pinch yourself moment where you're kind of like, is this really happening? Like, wow, this is amazing.
Absolutely. And I think anybody can, and that's not just the fact that I wrote a book, but I just think for many people, no matter where you are in your career or your business, just plant that seed. Like if you desire and you have a strong affinity for something, just plant that seed and say, listen, one day I'm going to do it. And I found that in life. Like I planted seeds like, oh, I'm going to work with that company. Now I was way too green, to even know how I was going to get to that path. But I just said, you know what? I like what they're up to. They seem like a cool person. One day I'm going to work with them. And I just plant that seed. And sometimes it happens later on throughout the years. And then, if you keep working towards it, it can happen. And it's not just pie in the sky, but you do have to take action. Yeah. But you can do it. And no one or no thing is too unobtainable. It's just you have to train your brain, think about it, and you've got to take action on it.
Yeah, that's so true. That's great advice. And yeah, just touching on that, I think it's incredible how when you do plant those seeds, you often forget about what you've done and what seeds you'd planted. And then maybe a year or two later, you're like, oh, I remember that happening. I remember putting that in place. Wow, that's incredible that's actually coming through for me now. Like you've got new things in your head, and yeah, this comes up. You're like, wow, it goes to show your persistence and constant action and sticking with that really, really does make a difference in your life.
I'm always amazed when I come across goals from like 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 7 years, and that I hadn't seen in a while. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like it's crazy. And maybe even the goals that I haven't gone back and crossed off, but they've manifested that they've created. And so you have to plant the seed, write it out, and then, take action on them.
Definitely. Well, thanks for sharing that, Dustin. So obviously, because we're talking about books and learning and constant education of yourself, what would be your favorite book or resource that you could recommend to the audience that's really helped you or made a pivotal impact in your life?
Absolutely. I think of one book that really calls to me. It's called Never Eat Alone by Keith Ferrazzi. And it's really a book about networking. And for some reason in my head, and I think he did invest some time here. It's about not just networking with anybody, but networking with influencers in your field or the field you want to get into. And so it's a book about bringing value to people. And so when you ask them what their challenges are and you ask them how you can be of service and expect nothing in return, it's very powerful. And so that book combined with all the marketing and the sales and the things that I've learned has been powerful, because at the end of the day, all that stuff is tactical, but relationships are what's key. And so whether or not you even open your own business, in the corporate world, it's good to go out to conferences and network outside your business, outside your division, because you never know what that's going to lead to.
Wow, sounds like an incredible book. And yeah, something I'm so focused on in my business, but especially with my podcast. I mean, it's funny how it's making a bit of a transition now. Like you said, these seeds eventually change and these things happen for you. So with my podcast, I remember starting off initially and, reach out to these incredible people, getting rejected time after time after time. And then I changed up my tact a bit, doing exactly what you just said, to get Grant Cardone on my show. He was the first, Matt Monero and Grant Cardone. So with Grant Cardone, I was like, I love his stuff. I really want his stuff, his content on my show. And I knew I didn't have much of an audience at this stage. So I actually emailed him. He responded, but he vetted me, knew that I wouldn't have much of an audience. So I sent a book to his office saying, and it was connecting with influencers. It was similar to the book what you've just described. I left a note saying, Grant, you might as well agree to come on my show because I'm going to be persistent as hell until you do. So you might as well say yes. And when his book was ready to launch, I secured an interview with only 7 episodes. So it's amazing what you can do with adding value and getting to know people. And I got to know his personality style, and I can just really resonate with what you've just said.
Oh, that's awesome! Absolutely, that's sound advice. I love it.
Awesome, Mel. Dustin, it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you, man. I've loved the incredible content you shared. You're such an easy person to talk to as well. I could talk to you for hours, but we do need to get ready to wrap up soon. So, Dustin, I'd love to know, is there any parting advice that you think that you could share with my audience that's really made a massive impact in your life, or something that could really help you out in life?
Yeah, absolutely. It's this idea of momentum. And so a lot of people think you need to take big actions and make drastic changes. And so here's what I found. No matter what your goal is, so maybe it's presentations, or maybe it's start that business, or maybe climb the corporate ladder, or maybe lose weight, or level your life. You pick one, right? So whatever your goal is, here's what I want to challenge you to do. I want you to take one small action a day. And a small action to me is, come on Paul's next podcast. If he has the expert on that you want to learn from, come on, or dig through the archives and listen to a podcast of yours. Or it could be go on Google, watch a YouTube video of something that's showing you how to get better in that area or get closer to your goal. And so here's what I found. When you take one small action a day and you chunk it out, you'll have taken 365 actions over the course of the year. And here's the secret. The secret is oftentimes it doesn't take you an entire year because you're building momentum. And so it will take you a lot less time. You'll be less stressed than I was at university because I would always wait till the last minute, the last night to write that paper or to cram for that exam. So don't do that. There's no need to be stressed. Take one small action a day, build momentum, and you'll get there a lot quicker.
I have to say, Dustin, that's the best breakdown and analogy of that I've ever heard. That's amazing. And I was really visual. The thing I've loved is like your content is very engaging. When you talk, it really draws you into a story, and I can see how the power of public speaking and how to craft an amazing message and how to get your story out. So yeah, I think that's a great breakdown from it. So guys, go back and have a listen and really implement what Dustin's just told you there. That's great. So Dustin, where would be the best place to reach out to you? Say if you've got a business owner who's really looking to engage their audience or start doing keynotes, but they don't know where to start. Where would be the best place to reach out to you for that?
Yeah, two places. If you want to dabble some more and see what this is all about, the book is out, so nobspresentations.com. On that page, there's resources and links to wherever you want to buy the book on that page. But make sure to get the resources and the bonuses that come along with it because it makes implementing a lot easier. Cool. And for those of you that love videos and love live events, at speakingempire.com is the company where we do our trainings, expanding upon what's inside the book. So if you're interested in speaking, webinars, Facebook Lives, all sorts of stuff that get people into action, your prospects, speakingempire.com.
That's awesome. I highly recommend everyone jump on board with Dustin's content, and I'll link all this in the show notes for everybody. So yeah, be sure to jump on board with that and take your public speaking career or your business to the next level with that. So Dustin, it's been an absolute pleasure, man. You're an amazing person to talk to and very, very easy to engage and have a chat with. So thank you for your time. It really means the world to me.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on. I really enjoyed it. And go out there and make it happen.
Yeah, definitely. And guys, stay tuned next week where we've got another incredible guest on the show who's really going to help you break through that glass ceiling in your career. So stay tuned then.